Hi, this is Christian Allen, and I'm a video game designer. And I decided to make a new video game and record it for you so you can see how you can make a video game pretty quickly. Um, I came up with the idea for this game while driving in my car. I was listening to NPR, and there's a story about a blind guy and how he kind of interacts with the world and the challenges he has in hotel rooms. And so I came up with this idea to make a very simple game. It's going to be called Blind Hotel, and it's a simulator of being a blind person in a hotel room. So this is my design document here, Blind Hotel, and it's not really a design document because I really got the design in my head, but it's just kind of the steps that I'm going to go through to build this in Unreal. Now I've already downloaded the latest version of Unreal 4.10. So you can find instructions on how to do that on the internet. But I also downloaded the templates. So we got my first person or the templates here. I'm going to be using the first person template in Blueprints because I don't know C++. I do work in Blueprints. So I'm going to go down here. I'm going to put my project. Let's put it on my G drive. Down here because I got space saving issues. UE4, Blind Hotel. We're going to put it right there. And we'll name it Blind Hotel. All right, so then I hit Create Project. Let that load up. Okay, so I've got my first person template open. Um, I've never actually worked from the first person template before, so you may see me looking around a little bit as I try to figure this out. I've been working my other game. We're working out of shooter game. So I'm not going to hook up source control right now. I can do that later. So I'm going to go in my content browser. See what kind of blueprints we got going on here. We got our first person character. Take a look in there. Okay, so we've got stick input, we got mouse input, we got movement input. We've got projectiles. Okay, first thing we're going to do, because this game is a first-person game, but it's not going to be a shooter. So let's go in and let's see. Let's go into our inputs here. Let's see. Edit project settings. All right, put in our company name. Okay. Let's see. License terms. And hotel. Oops, not hostile. That sounds like a horror movie. Okay. First thing I'm going to do is go into my inputs right here. So we've got our action mappings. We got jump. We don't need that, so we're going to delete that. We got fire. We don't need that. And we have look up and look up rate. And so that is for your joystick. But we don't actually need to look up and down. I want to lock the player at a not looking up and down. So disable those inputs. As you can see, I can go left and right, but I'm moving my mouse up and down. I'm not going left and right. Also, I'm not shooting because I don't have a weapon because I just disabled the input. So now I've locked the player. Now I can still move around and turn just like in every first-person shooter, but I've now reverted to Doom with no y-axis mapping on movement. So my up mouse doesn't do anything, down mouse doesn't do anything, and my sticks don't do anything because that's how I want it. Because you'll see in a little bit why I'm going to not want to be looking up and down because you'll get completely disoriented. So, all right, next thing I'm going to do is go into my first-person character. I'm going to edit my first-person character. Let's take a look at our viewport. We've got a mesh. We don't need a mesh for this game. So, got a gun, first-person mesh. I'm going to delete that. Okay. Delete that. You can see this game is going to have pretty high performance. This blueprint is not a skeletal mesh, therefore target must have a connection. So because I'm going to unhook these, or actually I'm just going to go ahead and delete these, the inputs. So you'll see the editor, when I compiled, it found that I had deleted those inputs and warned me that it doesn't know what those are anymore. Get rid of lookup. Get rid of jump. Go ahead and delete this because we don't need it anymore. Actually, we just delete this whole spawn projectile group. Oops. Delete that. Delete jumping. Okay. Clean that up. Try to keep it relatively clean. You know, I don't technically need to delete these, but all right. So we got move right, move forward, we got turn, and we got stick input using a controller. So compile that. Missed one. We don't need to attach the weapon. Take that out of the construction script. And now we can only compile. Okay, so now that I've done that, we'll see. Go in the game. I've got my little aim indicator, which I don't really need. I'll probably take that out later. And we're good to go. So I'll hit escape. Okay, let's go back to our design document. Okay, we need an entry level. So let's set that up. File, new level. And this will open empty level. Don't save that. Actually, let's do open level. New level. Default. Okay. All right, we're going to do file, save as. First person. Geometry. First person blueprint maps. Okay, new map is going to be called BF entry. Okay, so now I've got my new map. So if I go back to my editor preferences, project settings, let's see, maps and modes. Our game default map is going to be F entry, and editor startup map, well, figure that out. We might change that. Let's see. First person game mode. Okay. All right. Set that. Choose files to save. Save that character. Okay. All right. So we've got our entry map. So the next thing I'm going to set up is map loading. So let's go ahead and make a few new levels. New level. Use default again. And we're going to save this as EF1. And we're going to save it as save all levels. You know what? I'm not going to do that yet. Well, yeah, I can go ahead and do it. I just might have to duplicate it some more. BF3. I'll start with 3 maps. All right, so now I'm going to go into, I'm going to open up that entry level, BF entry, and I'm going to do some scripting here. Let's see, let's create a widget here. I need a widget. Let's see. First person blueprints, content. Okay, let's go into blueprints, make a new folder, widgets. Okay. And we're going to create a new blueprint class. Where's widgets? User interface. Widget blueprint. Okay, that's it. There it is. And we're going to call this title menu. Open that up. All right, this is my widgets, which is my UI. So what I'm going to do is we're going to create a button. Make a button. And another button. Okay, we've got our 2 buttons. Now we are going to position this, which is a pain in the ass. Oh, my phone's ringing. Okay, I'm going to take a break. Okay, we are back. So I'm going to put this button at 900 and position Y 500. This is kind of annoying that you can't just... Oh, you can drag them around in 4.10. Oh, that's cool. Okay. Sweet. Zoom in here. Center this. This is my first time using 4.10. So in 4.8, you couldn't drag them around. So let's make them bigger. Delete this one. Let's see, button. We're going to add a text box to that button. And we're going to say start. And let's see. Make that text a little bigger. And let's see, font. Let's do it 48. Okay, and then we're going to duplicate that. Copy, paste. Okay. Put that down here. Oh, this is so much nicer than it is in 4.8. And change that text. Quit. Lined up. Okay, so there's our first widget. All that. Save it. So now I'm going to go into the graph and go back to the designer. I always forget to do this, and then it gets confusing later. Name them. Okay, so drag our start button over here. on-clicked. On-clicked start. On-clicked quit. All right. So when we start the game, we want to open level. And this is still text, bf underscore. Actually, no, we don't. Okay, let's see. New variables here. Variables. Level. Change that to string. Level 1. Duplicate. 2. Duplicate. 3. Okay. Compile so that we can enter them in. Level 1 is going to be bf underscore 1. 2 is going to be bf underscore 2. 3 is going to be bf underscore 3. Okay. So now I want, because of the way this game is, you're going to have basically randomized levels that you're going to go into. We're going to start with 3. So I'm going to break the link there. And what I will do, let's see, get this, and we need one more. Duplicate. We're going to call that one current. Set that. Now, I like to do a lot of randomization in games, and how I generally do that is through random integers. So, let's see, where's my integers? Math. Okay, I guess we need a variable. Random level. Turn this into an int. Compile that. Default value of 1. Compile that. Set this. Set random level to random integer in range. So we're going to say min1. I'm a designer. I start at 1, not at 0. Max 3. So it can be 1, 2, or 3. So the first thing we do is we set that integer to a random level. Okay. So we're going to come off over here. Let's see. I'm going to do a switch on int. And we need 3 pins. Let's see. So do bf underscore 1. Did I change that to 0? Oh, actually, we don't need to do that. Looks like these need to be names. Text. Not strings. type those in. Good thing about using variables instead of manually typing stuff in is if you need to change something, like if I spell a name, you only need to hook it up once. Okay, let's duplicate that. Save. Sometimes I find when copying and pasting, Unreal likes to crash sometimes. All right. So we just go 2 to here, 3 to here, and we're going to hook all these up to here. Ah, okay, never mind. Let's try this again. They need to be names, not text. Name. Okay. File that. Let me double check those map names. I think I probably put a... Yeah, I did. I put zeros in there. So. You can hear the sweet, sweet clicking sound of my mechanical Razer Chroma keyboard. Okay, so compile that. All right, let's do this again. Set current level. Duplicate that. Why Control V doesn't seem to want to work. There we go. 3, 2, 1. So, when you hit start, generates a random number between 1 and 3. Probably hook that up correctly. Oops. I didn't do that. Pay attention. I guess it's best if you learn to count from 0, but I just don't like it. Okay. Now I'm going to put my descriptor in here. Create comment. Start random level. Always put descriptors on. You'll kick yourself later if you don't. Okay, now on quit. Let me just quit game. Quit preferences. Quit. And I don't need to worry about the player. If not specified, player 0 will quit. Okay. If I was worried about multiplayer, I'd want to set this up with get, viewer widget or whatever. But this is a title menu, so it's not like you're going to be in a multiplayer game. So compile that, save that. Okay. I might as well label that even though it's pretty quit. Okay, so now I've got my title menu made. Compile that, save it. I am going to go into my entry level, BF entry. And let's see. Go into our level blueprint. Okay, and I'll do it off begin play because that's when the spawns. Let's see. Get all actors of class. There's several different ways to do this. First person, what was he named? First person character. Okay, we're going to get, that gets the player. Add widget component. No, not add widget component. Create widget. Maybe you can't do that from a... I guess I don't want to do this in the level. Sometimes widgets and players and various different things don't play well together. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to do it a different way. I'm going to open up our character. And we are going to create an event dispatcher. Event dispatcher. Title menu. Assign that. And then on begin play, begin play. We're going to bind that, because if you don't bind an event. So title menu event. Create widget. Title menu. Okay, and then itself. Let's see. Add to viewport. And then what we'll do is let's make another event. Title menu. Exit. Oops, I made a new graph. I didn't want to do that. Event dispatcher. Title menu. Exit. And we're going to remove from parent. I'll go ahead and bind that as well. Okay, so when these are called, it'll create the widget that we just created and add it to the player's viewport. When we run the exit event, we'll remove it. So let's do that. Go back into our entry. Okay, event begin play. Get all actors of class. First person character. Him. All title menu event. Okay, So now he gets in the level. It's going to cast to him and load that widget. So I will go back into the widget and I'll label that. And I'm just doing this fast and loose, so I'm not really worried about making everything looking too neat and pretty, as long as it's labeled. Title screen. Okay, now go back into our widget. All actors of class. First person character. Now again, if you're doing it in multiplayer, you don't want to do it this way because it'll bite you in the ass later. Get him. Call title menu exit. So after it starts loading the level, it takes it down. So let's give this a try. See what happens. We're in our entry level. Hit play. Here we see start and quit, start and quit, start and quit. So I have to play it in a new window, I think, to open another level. That was loud. Play standalone game. Let's try that. Okay. Oh, I need to do something else. I need to display the mouse cursor. Okay, so that works. Let's see. Where should we do that in? Let's do it in. Well, we can just do that in the level blueprint. Maybe I can do it in the. I guess we just first person blueprint. Okay. Do another event dispatcher here. Event dispatcher, show mouse cursor. I can use that for multiple things. Assign that. Tie it into my begin play assign. Let's see. Get player. Why doesn't get player controller? Oh, this is because it's me. Okay. So, self. Let's see. Input. Controller pitch. Where's show mouse cursor? Maybe I can't do that in player character. try it in the widget. Oops. This is working different. There is an event dispatcher, but why is it doing this? Okay, this is perplexing me. Things are working a little bit differently here. I'm used to having an event for when the well, I guess we just do begin play because that'll play off of when it's created. Event construct, not create. Okay, yeah, that's what I wanted. Construct. Okay, get player. Get all actors of class. Get character. First person character. Get index 0. Call show mouse cursor event. Okay, let's try it now. Ooh, I gotta. Compile error. Let's see. Why can't it find that? Did I not compile the character, maybe? Let's see. Or maybe it's just warning because I didn't actually hook this up. I'm doing this wrong anyway. Run this back up. Show mouse cursor event. Oh, we don't want to do that. Where is... Yeah, that's not what I need. I'm having trouble showing the mouse cursor. Let's try doing it in the level. Ultimate blueprint. Not sure why this is not working. Maybe I need to do... Maybe it needs to be a pawn. cursor delta. Show mouse cursor event. That's not custom event. Let's see. My buttons. Mouse values. That's going to be another user interface. Go. Set. Set mouse position. This is strange. Okay. All right, to the internet. UE4 show cursor. How do I show the mouse cursor? That's in C++. Show. I'll have to edit this part out. Eprint show mouse cursor. Okay, we're going to make a player controller. Okay. Let's see, this is a character, player controller. So I'm used to working with player controllers. Let's see what we got in here. Oh, mouse cursor. Okay, so let's see here. What we want to do, we've got our character. Um, let's see. Let's see what I've done in here so far. Oh, I just got the movement stuff that I did. Edit preferences, maps and modes. Oh, that's editor preferences. Recent levels, edit project settings, maps and modes, game default map, player controller class. Oh, okay, we're going to rename this EF player controller. And then we are going to go back to our project settings, maps and modes, default player controller class to BF player controller. Okay, let's try that. Okay, so from now on, I think we're going to be using the player controller for everything instead of the first-person character. So, player controller. Open that bad boy up. Make two event dispatchers, one called show mouse and one called hide mouse. Assign that. Get off our begin play. So we get the show mouse event. Show the mouse cursor. Hide mouse event. Hook that up. Duplicate that. Hide the mouse cursor. So it looks like input events like that have to be in player controllers, not in characters, which is the fun thing about some things in Unreal. Certain specific things you do in controllers, certain specific things you want to do in pawns, and certain things you want to do in characters. So, where was I? Let's go back to our widget. Change that to BF player controllers. Show mouse cursor of it. And when we go into the level, I'm going to put this in here. Did I not create? Oh, it's called hide. Oh, I need to get him again. What I'm doing here is I'm just getting all actors of class. And since there's only ever going to be one, it's a single player game, it's always going to return at array 0. Call hide mouse event. Boom. Okay. should see a mouse. Can't connect target array out actors. Array of first-person character references not completed with yet. Ah. I'm redoing this because I changed it. There we go. Now it should compile. There we go. Okay, so play a new window. Save our files. Okay, look, now I have a mouse. And I can move around the level if I want. Okay, so start. Now I'm in the level. Now there is a kind of a bug that I see a lot where the hide mouse cursor doesn't go away until you first click. It's a pretty minor bug because I'm not doing shooting. And I fixed it in some of my other game. I forgot how I did it. So there's a way to do it. I think it might only affect if you're playing in Windows mode. I think if you're playing in full screen. Okay, but now I'm trapped in the game. I don't know how to get out. So we need to allow the player to get out, right? Okay, that's important. So let's take our title menu and we're going to duplicate it. We're going to save it. And we're going to duplicate that. I'm going to create a pause menu. Okay, open that up. And we're going to change this to resume, not resume. Okay. All right. And then we're going to go into our graph. Now we don't need this anymore because we're not going to use it to. Okay, so. Oh look, I didn't label that. Okay, on this guy, what we'll do is on create, on construct. Oh, we're already doing it on construct. Okay, so what we'll do is on construct, we're going to do a split off here. What am I thinking of? Split. What does Unreal call it? I always forget these. Sequence, duh. Okay, so it's going to do that. And then what it's going to do is it's going to pause the game. Set game paused. Okay. So it's going to pause the game. And then we will have an on-clicked, even though it's start. Oops. Here. We are going to set game paused off, and we're going to remove self from parent. Reference to self, move from parent. So now instead of that same widget, exactly the same, um, now instead of loading levels, it quits. Okay. And actually, you know what? While we're in here, let's do one more. Let's do one more. We're gonna copy this, paste. There we go. And just to make this look nice, we'll make them all the same size. Okay. So now we'll go back into the graph. Take our main menu button, unclicked, and what we're going to do, open level, and we're going to open EF entry. Okay, so now we just need to create an input. You always want to use inputs, actual create inputs when you're doing this, when you're making new inputs. Don't use individual keys, which you can do. But then when you want to go back and do remapping, you're going to have to rehook all that up. So let's see. Let's add an input action mapping. It's going to be called pause menu. Default will be escape. Okay. All right. So I'm going to save that. Close that. And we want to go back into our player controller. Okay. And we want to do input probably need to compile it to see. Pause menu, action event, pressed. Create the widget, pause menu, add viewport. All right, so you press the pause menu, creates the widget. Pretty simple. Okay, so now I've got my interface. Start the level. Now I'm in the level. If I hit escape, I can return to the main menu, go into a level, hit escape, I can resume the level, or I can quit the game. Sweet. Nice. So now, it's so weird for me not checking this stuff into Perforce as I do it. Create comment selection. Pause. Also, it should, if I play it again, so now I'm in the level, and if I pause it, it'll Oh, but that my mouse cursor came back. Oops. Yeah. So I must not have in that pause menu. Back to our widgets. This isn't lined up either. That's better. Graph. On-clicked main menu. Before I remove you from the parent, I need to turn the mouse cursor off. We can just get owner. Hide mouse. So what I'm doing here is getting the owner of the widget, which is ideally the player, but because it doesn't know what kind of player that's going to be, is I need to cast to that player controller to tell it that it's going to be a player controller. And then I'm going to call the hide mouse. Then I'm going to remove from parent. Let's give that a whack. Selected. And this game's going to run it like so blindingly fast. It's going to be amazing. Okay, so okay, so it's still got that bug where you have to click it once, but I'll have to track down how I fix that in 4.8. Still annoying that it's still there in 4.10. It's like when I say hide the mouse cursor, hide the mouse cursor. Okay, so we've got our basic menu set up. I'm going to take a break and then we'll get into making some interactive objects.